Welcome everybody to the seasonal diet, eating what our ancestors ate when they ate it, like we were evolved to do. Beer, I am not a big fan of. I actually hate it, to be completely honest, but since most of you watching have ancestry in the north of Europe at least, my guess is that probably all of you love it, and we can see that when we look at the statistics of the highest amount of beer drank by country in the world today. But what is the history of beer, and which seasons should we be drinking it the most? Well, beer is one of the oldest drinks in history. Since this is a channel mostly followed by Northern Europeans, I'll speak about that history first. The Celts and the Germanic tribes, we have plenty of evidence that beer was brewed and drank on the local scale for at least 3,000 years. A lot of it, probably, actually. And in fact, one of the oldest Roman sources we have describing our people said that unlike the Romans, the Celts and the Germanic peoples would grow wheat only for making brewskis, only for making beer and ale. They didn't even like the bread that they could make from wheat. They didn't give a shit about any of that. We just wanted it for the alcohol. Were we a bunch of drunks? Well, the sober people are probably not going to want to admit that, but the history of Northern Europe is filled with alcohol drinking, and especially beer. Trust me, I'm not biased on this one. I love a drink. I really do love some alcohol, but I absolutely hate beer. But we honestly would never have survived the cold winters without beer or ale or some kind of drink like this. There's nothing else growing around, and beer would be an abundant, easy food source that has a long shelf life to get a good source of calories all throughout the winter. But we are not the only ones who like to drink. Beer has been brewed all over Europe and used by the Indo-European peoples for 15,000 years, they think. The oldest archaeological evidence of fermentation is about a 13-year-old residue of beer consisting of gruel used by the semi-nomadic Natufians for ritual feasting that we think. And we have traces of it being used all the way up really until modern history pretty much, and the recipe hasn't changed that much. Same fermentation. But here's the interesting part. We today would hardly recognize what they drank and what they called beer, what we might call beer, compared to what we call beer today. Earlier recipes of this alcoholic drink had thousands of different combinations made with fruits, honey, herbs, all kinds of things. Probably thousands, if not millions, of local recipes all around Europe and the world. But this all changed with something called the Reinheitsgebot. In 1516, just about 500 years ago, the Duke of Bavaria, he basically adopted the Reinheitsgebot, which was translated as the purity law, basically, and he implemented it all over Europe, and that only allowed 3 ingredients in beer, and that is water, hops, and barley malt. And, you know, the official word for this, why they did this, was to increase the cleanliness and the purity of the beer that we Europeans drank. I don't believe that load of shit for a second, okay? We had, so many special and even spiritual recipes for beer in our tradition. All kinds of wild herbs that would give certain effects, whether it be health or, vitality or psychoactive substances or increased brain activity. Even what we think actually the berserkers drank, the Viking berserkers, they drank some sort of henbane beer. And this was not appreciated very much by the church of the time. They thought these ancient recipes was heathen devil drinks. So what they did was they banned every ingredient, every native ingredient that we have in Europe to make this alcohol, except for water, hops, and barley malt. And this regulation, by the way, still applies today. It's still illegal to make a lot of these very old traditional beer recipes. That's why our beer tastes like piss still, and I hate it, in my opinion. I wonder what it was they're trying to keep from us. Like I said, in my opinion, I think beer brewed in all these ancient ways with different ingredients was good for our health, for our body, mind, and even our spirit. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think.